Someone is putting our lives in danger, not by pulling a trigger or tossing a bomb, but by snipping a wire. Tonight, News 13 investigative reporter Larry Barker reveals a sinister, sneaky scheme to disable the tiny black boxes that protect all of us from a deadly threat.
Tom, how big of a deal is this?
This is a criminal offense, Larry. We've never seen anything of this magnitude.
Did anybody tell you this is wrong, what you're doing?
No.
There's a very big investigation going on with this right now, and I'm sure that there will be some criminal charges.
They did it clandestinely for almost a year. They cut wires and bypassed sophisticated safeguards so that convicted drunk drivers could beat the system. At the center of the scheme, a device that may be the single most effective tool available in the battle against drunk driving, the ignition interlock. George Lucini is VP for an interlock manufacturer.
We can't stop people from drinking, but we can stop them from drinking and driving.
Now, anyone convicted of DWI must have an interlock on their vehicle for at least a year. Get a fourth DWI and you'll have one for life. Today, there are more than 11,000 New Mexicans on the road with court-ordered ignition interlocks.
You blow into the interlock, it measures your breath for alcohol content. If it's above .025, you cannot start the vehicle.
To ensure security and safety, an interlock must be installed by a licensed dealer. For example, Budget Interlock. This Albuquerque firm installed hundreds of court-ordered devices on vehicles driven by drunk drivers. But there was something wrong with those installs, something sinister, something underhanded, something illegal.
Car is bypassed, or you don't even have to blow into the interlock to start it. You can see the little bypass right here. This blue jumper. No interlock in here. Not plugged in. Key in the ignition. There you go, it starts.
You see, select customers got an unadvertised secret deal. In more than a dozen cases, Budget cut and spliced wires. Rigged interlocks allowed DWI offenders to beat the system by driving with devices that had been covertly disabled.
You see the yellow bypass here on the starter. Interlock is not plugged in. Vehicle is running.
In case after case, Budget circumvented the interlock security system to render the device inoperative. The scam was uncovered by interlock manufacturer ADS, or Alcohol Detection Systems.
We found a minimum of 12, I think it was between 12 and 17, somewhere in there, of units that had been bypassed where people could continue to drive, whether they were impaired or not, whether they even gave a sample or not.
ADS documented the deceptive installs and turned the evidence over to the State Department of Transportation. Tom Church is Cabinet Secretary.
These vehicles had been tampered with for a number of months, and they were essentially disabled in violation of the intent and the law.
ADS has more than 100,000 ignition interlocks in operation today nationwide.
Have you ever seen a case like this?
No. We've had a case where an individual has tried to tamper with their own unit, and we caught him, but never had a case where a dealer was doing this and on this scale.
Do you believe that you did anything wrong?
No.
Budget's installer admits rigging wiring to bypass the interlock. In exchange for an on-camera interview, we agreed to obscure his identity. He says 12 devices were temporarily disabled so that the vehicles could be serviced by mechanics. He says there was no criminal intent.
How did you know how to bypass the interlock?
The ADS, Alcohol Detection Systems, technical people sent us an email and told us how to do it.
So the manufacturer?
The manufacturer.
Informed you how to do it?
Correct.
When he says that the manufacturer taught us how to do this, what is your response to that?
It's not true. We don't bypass units. If car is going to be worked on or something, it's disconnected while the car is worked on and then reconnected up and then reset and recalibrated.
Is there a legitimate reason to disable or circumvent an ignition interlock?
There is no legitimate reason to disable an ignition interlock.
According to the DOT, of the DWI offenders who drove vehicles with bypassed interlocks, there were almost 500 tamper violations and 39 alcohol violations that were never reported to Metro Court.
What was the guy doing?
Basically making sure that people could drive whether they were intoxicated or not, and wasn't downloading them and giving the information to the courts as he was supposed to.
Is it possible that the drivers of these vehicles didn't know that the ignition interlock had been disconnected?
Larry, if you breathe into the system, it will allow you to start the car. They did not have to breathe into the system. I don't believe there's any way they could have not known.
Following an investigation, the DOT shut down Budget Interlock in July.
Who at Budget Interlock knew that the interlocks had been bypassed?
The owner, Joanne Santistema. She was the manager owner. I was an employee.
That's not true. I did not know. He did it on his own.
Joanne Santisteban was president of Budget Interlock.
He was a trusted employee, and I did not know that he was circumventing the systems. And there's no way I would put people's lives at danger if they're supposed to be on an interlock device. It should have been installed properly.
How do you feel about all this, Joanne?
Upset, angry that he ruined my livelihood, my business, when I trusted him.
The installer denies taking money under the table to rig interlocks.
Nothing was done for any monetary gain, because that was never even a thought.
Nobody ever offered you any money or anything to disconnect?
Never. No, it was never done that way. No.
Is there any evidence in the record of money exchanging hands?
Well, we have copies of some checks that were paid to him. We don't know why they would be paid directly to him instead of to the company.
The state police has now launched a criminal investigation. Meanwhile, Metro Court has its own investigation into DWI offenders who beat the system with disabled interlocks. Larry Barker, KRQE News 13.